Hi everybody, this is the baseball head, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion, your host, the Heart, and this is a celebration. It is a celebration here tonight because we got what we wanted. We got more than what I could have hoped for tonight. I want to get into it momentarily. Hit that subscribe button if you're as excited about this as I am. I've been bitching and complaining for 6 months about some of the players on this Mets club in 2023, and two of them, and three or four of them, they are out of here. So this was a big night. We had the 8 p.m. non-tender deadline for some of these players that had contracts. I would point out that DJ Stewart got a contract. He got a one-year deal from the Mets. Drew Smith did not get traded as I'm recording this video, as far as I know. But the big news. Our buddy Daniel Vogelbach is gone. Skadoosh, out of here. He's been sent off to the Phantom Zone. May we never see his likes again. One of the most dysfunctional players we've seen here with the New York Mets. In all the years I've been a Mets fan, a guy who could do absolutely, and the heart means absolutely nothing. This was a guy that completely wrecked the Mets season. And I would bring that up because he was primarily the number 5 hitter on this team. He was supposed to be the protection, quote unquote, for Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso had the lowest batting average in the history of his career so far. He's been with the Mets 5 years, and this is the lowest his batting average has been. And I attribute that batting average due to the fact that Vogelbach was batting behind him, specifically against right-handed pitching. So when Vogelbach would be batting behind Pete, if you noticed, the worst month of Pete's season was in June. He was dealing with this injury that the Braves got away with, and with his wrist. But he also had Vogelbach batting behind him. Who you want to pitch to? You want to pitch to Pete Alonso or Daniel Vogelbach? You pitch around Pete. If Pete doesn't has to swing at balls all the time, the opposition doesn't care. But Daniel Vogelbach was a symbol of this team, and a symbol of the lack of thoughtfulness in terms of the former general manager, in terms of roster construction. You had a player that could only do one thing, and that's hit right-handed pitching. He didn't do a very good job of it. He was terrible when the Mets needed him to be really good. When the season was basically over is when he started hitting in July and August. But when they needed him in April and May and June, he was nowhere to be found. And in fact, the Mets gave him a vacation. Things were so bad with this situation that Buck Showalter didn't want to play him, but he was forced to play him because the former general manager, Billy Epler, refused to realize and admit that he made a mistake with Vogelbach. Okay, you had Vogelbach who, when he can't play the field, Vogelbach can't at all run, can't even move. And then you have a situation, because he can't run, he can't move, he can't play the field, he really can't run the bases, he can't move on the bases. You had to have Tim LaCastro come with him when the Mets came out of spring training. So you had two players, and here's the thing about LaCastro, he couldn't hit. He was let go a couple weeks ago by Dave Stearns. So two players are on the opening day roster that were limited in what they could do. Because obviously LaCastro couldn't hit, and Vogelbach could hit somewhat, but couldn't do anything else. And he is a .220 career hitter. And then the third everyday player, or really the third positional player, that was non-tendered contract, and I am very happy about this, as well as Luis Guillorme. The guy was supposed to be a wizard defensively, but he had a lousy year defensively, and quite frankly, he can't hit the broadside of a barn. He's got no power, can't really hit, can't run all that great. And he was the third player on this team that came up with the Mets in April at a spring training that was very limited in what he could do. He's gone too. We have other guys on this roster that are gone. All indictments on the former general manager, Billy Epler. Jeff Brigham. Last year, the Mets made a trade with the Marlins to bring him in, and this Eliza Hernandez, who did not pitch. These were guys that were rumored to be non-tendered last year. Sam Coonrod, another disaster in terms of the bullpen, did not pitch great, and probably one of the worst moves, believe it or not, one of the worst moves of the year by the former general manager, Billy Epler, Trevor Gott. They traded Munkenhern to the Mariners for Trevor Gott and Chris Flexen. The big deal was that Trevor Gott, he was so good. The analytics are saying he's going to be so good. Meanwhile, he was a mediocre pitcher his whole career, and he was even mediocre with the Mariners. And when the Mets got him, he was totally shocked that the Mets not only traded for him, but what was added on. They brought in Chris Flexen, who had been one of the worst pitchers in Mets history over the last 20, 30 years. They brought him back and then released him. Made 0 sense, that trade. It was one of the worst trades I've ever seen. It was a joke. Major League Baseball were laughing at the Mets because of that trade. The players that were non-tender tonight, all of them are an indictment on Billy Epler. So it's good that Billy is out of here as general manager. Now, Daniel Vogelbach, bon voyage. Hopefully we never see your kind again. Like I said, I was complaining about him for months. And I said that as long as he's on this ball club, especially during the season, this team was not going to turn the situation around. And they didn't do that. They did not turn it around for a very specific reason. He was a symptom of this problem here, specifically with the everyday position players. He was playing a lot, with 3/4 of the time there. He was getting 3/4 of the at-bats. When you bat fifth, you know how many times you come up late in the game? How many times you come up with men on base? Especially when you got guys that are always on base with the Mets, with Nimmo always on base, and Lindor always on base, and Pete on base. You know how many times he comes up and he kept... And here's the thing that was so, infuriating to me, and it was infuriating to the Mets broadcast booth, was how he was taking pitch after pitch after pitch. It got so bad that the Met announcers were making fun of the fact that he was taking pitches. Saying that he was window dressing. He was observing his at-bats. I'd never seen a hitter so passive, and he's paid to hit. He's not paid to play the field. He's not paid to run the bases. He didn't do any of those things well. He was paid to swing the bat. I was very nervous this week when David Stearns, the Mets' new president of baseball operations, said that Daniel Vogelbach's ability to get on base was elite level. I almost fell out of my chair because I was like, "Oh my God, they're going to keep this guy, and he's not going to be able to get out of this contract, get him out of here." I was so nervous that he was going to keep him, but David Stearns did the right thing, got him out of here, and I could not have been happier. Luis Guillorme, also happy he's out of here. Trevor Gott, I'm happy he's out of here. Jeff Brigham, he brought him out of here, got him out of here. Trevor Gott got out of here. They brought in someone else. They're bringing someone else to get Jeff Brigham out of here. They got. I mean, really. Now, as I do this video, I guess Drew Smith is still here. They were trying to trade him for the last few hours. Maybe they'll move him. He's another guy that has to go. He was kind of on the bubble, in my view. I couldn't see the Mets non-tender him, but he was on the bubble. Oh, some big news actually that came through the non-tenders. Brandon Woodruff was non-tendered by the Brewers. Holy shit. That's huge news. And in fact, the Brewers, before I came on here to record the video, they put out a statement about Woodruff, how much they respected him, how much they loved him, how great he's been for the Milwaukee community. I'll tell you, it tells you that the Brewers are going to break that down. So all these teams that need help, like say, for instance, the New York Mets, should look into bringing in some of these players that are in Milwaukee. Willie Adams is probably going to get traded. Corbin Burns is probably going to get traded. A lot of teams, and I would mention Brandon Woodruff. They're going to be tons of, every team in baseball is going to be talking to him. That guy's been a good pitcher. He's been a two-time All-Star. So we have, he's probably the most interesting player that was non-tender tonight. All the players the Mets non-tendered, they're losers. Daniel Vogelbach, a loser. Luis Guillorme, a loser. They might be nice guys, but in terms of on the field, in between the lines, they're losers. Jeff Brigham, a loser. Trevor Gott, one of the biggest losers we've seen here. And I would mention, thank God I don't have to talk about it anymore. Thank God we can move on from that. This is 6 months in the making, folks. Actually, longer than that. 7 months in the making. We have now dubbed Daniel Vogelbach officially sent and skadooshed to the Anthem Zone. Now, of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut.